Hey, my handsome ladies and gentlemen, this is Shmeaty. Welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you are new. Now, when you tell me one of my favorite Pokemon of all time just got buffed, oh, I am immediately on the scene. We're going to be taking a look today at the newly buffed Upper Hand Scrafty, who also got a rework to Foul Play this season. We're going to be running counter for the first game, just because the first game was insane and I just had to keep it in. And then we're going to be running Snarl Upper Hand Foul Play for the remainder of the games. With that being said, let's go ahead and get right into game number one, leading Scrafty into Zygarde. Oh my goodness. This is a sign of the time. Zygarde is a Pokemon that's existed for about as long as Scrafty has not existed, so we're going to be firing off Upper Hand number one. It's 7 to the first. Counter being nerfed really hurts Scrafty in this regard. They are going to fire off a move here. I'm going to no shield as the Scrafty. It's going to be the Outrage, but Scrafty tanks it pretty easily here. They're going to switch into their Geezing, and now I'm bringing in this Shadow Drapion. Going to be able to outpace before they make anything more than a Sludge there. So they are going to let the Aqua Tail through, and this is a pretty decent matchup for the Drapion. They're going to fire off a move here. I have to correctly shield an Overheat or no shield a Sludge in order to get ahead in this matchup. If I don't, I'll be a little cooked. Throwing Aqua Tail number 2, and the Geezing's getting quite low here. You know what? I'm not investing any further into this Drapion. They hit me with the Overheat. That does quite a lot of damage. In comes a Gastrodon in the back. Win con sighted as we bring in Drifblim. Drifblim going to be able to fire off an Icy Wind, and I'm Icy Winding immediately because although they are not hitting for anything more than double resisted damage in this matchup as they're going to send the Earth Power, I still would like to mitigate the damage that they are doing because this Drifblim is going to need to 1v3 versus 3 Pokemon with 2 shields. So keeping the health on this Drifblim is going to be massively important as we get to Icy Wind number 2, going for a bit of an undercharge here. They're locked in for just a little longer. 2 more Mud Slaps, they're able to switch out. In comes the Geezing. We try to switch and CMP sack with the Drapion. Unfortunately, we will lose that CMP tie. The Sludge connects, but getting that catch is still very nice. Going for the Hex down with the Drifblim. In comes the Gastrodon, also getting Hex down. In comes the Zygarde. Zygarde does not like to eat double super effective Icy Winds, especially not when it's about 33% healthy. A second Icy Wind is going to get a second shield from the Zygarde, and we're going to get a third Icy Wind before getting farmed down, and this is going to easily be enough to KO. The dream here was getting the undercharge, 0-turn switching into the Scrafty and getting the Upper Hand KO, but unfortunately no BM for me. I try not to bore you guys too much with the intros anymore, and unfortunately that means I neglected to mention that this team archetype is popularized by fellow content creator Jamie Finn, and so I am going to be running a team inspired by him with his fighter Double Dark Poison lines in the Ultra League. Now, this is heavily inspired by the fact that if you don't have 2 hard checks to Geezing in the back of your Scrafty lead, you are just going to lose. That Pokemon is just so annoying for Scrafty teams to deal with, and I tried so many things, and this is about the best results I was able to get with it. Spoiler alert, Scrafty may just not be the best Pokemon, but I've yapped on long enough. They're going to safe switch into their Golisopod. Golisopod takes a crunch, shields a Aqua Tail bait, and they are forced to throw early and get the farm down. Back in comes our Scrafty. Scrafty is going to be able to eat more than 1 Aqua Jet here. Aqua Jet thrown on alignment is very good for us. We're going to fire off 3 more Snarls here and the Upper Hand for the KO. Just in case they tried to preserve or anything like that, this Upper Hand will ensure that we are going to be able to land a sizable amount of damage, KO the Golisopod, and potentially debuff if they try to bring something else in. Speaking of bringing something else in, it's our worst nightmare. Back again, the Geezing. They are going to Sludge our Skuntank, and that's a pretty good spot for us. I'm going to no-shield another Sludge. This guy is addicted to baiting. In comes a Jellicent, and actually, we might be cooking here. I'm going to shield up whatever this is, and now, instead of going for Trailblaze, I should be going for Crunch, because we're potentiating a debuff on the Jellicent. Jellicent with only 1 shield remaining, not going to be having a whole lot of fun here. They no shield the Crunch. In comes the Scrafty, and now this Surf may very well KO, but we don't need the Scrafty to win this game. We need the Skuntank in order to farm down the Geezing. That is our only play, and we're able to get the farm down. GG's to this trainer. Old school versus new school in the next lead. It's going to be Scrafty versus Blastoise. Blastoise not going to want to stay in as their fast move is resisted. And the Hydro Cannons, especially from a non-shadow, don't do very much of anything at all onto a Scrafty. They're going to safe switch into their Golisopod and ABA water strategy, and they are going to fire off an Aqua Jet. I'm going to retaliate with a upper hand of my own, bluffing a potential Thunder Punch. Unfortunately, they don't shield it. They're going to fire off another move onto the Scrafty, but Scrafty's in a health range where I don't fear getting farmed down from the Blastoise in the future, so I'm just going to bank the double upper hand now, bring in the Drapion. This Golisopod is now importantly in crunch range, and they're going to fire off an Aqua Jet, but we can just play to just before they throw their move, or I guess I could make the wrong play and throw on CMP. But I suppose this incentivizes them a little more to let go of the Golisopod here. They do, unfortunately, get to save it on 1 HP because we went for the undercharge. I was hoping that their switch wasn't up, I believe, at the time, but nevertheless, we are going to be able to debuff with the crunch. And now, speaking of debuff, we're going for the upper hand onto the Blastoise. A sizable amount of damage landed, and now I'm just going to shield up the Scrafty. Scrafty's pacing is pretty quick to these upper hands, so I'm going to build up to the back-to-back once again, and we've got the back-to-back upper hand, so if they shield here, they will lose CMP to the Scrafty. They no shield, and now in comes the Geezing. Of course in comes the Geezing. Why would there be anything else in the back? We are going to just try to farm this down completely with our Skuntank. Skuntank in for a bit of a doozy here. They're going to fire off a Sludge. Sludge going to be not respected by the Skuntank, as kind of my only win con is just trying to disrespect this Pokemon to death. They're going to fire off another move here. I kind of need this to be another Sludge, so once again, disrespecting the Sludge. Again, these trainers and their proclivity to just baiting non-stop is not helping them very much at all. Trailblaze does not land onto the Geezing. Geezing is going to put up the final shield. I will do the same. They go for the Brutal Swing, and now we're looking to farm down. Unfortunately, they're able to make another swing. Skuntank's very glassy, so although we're XL, we're going to get KO'd there. In comes the Scrafty, and I believe we are one off of a further move. This is going to get ridiculously close. That foul play KOs. In comes the Golisopod, gets farmed down by the Snarl. GG's to this trainer. In the next game, it's going to be Scrafty leading into Corvanite. Corvanite, a little bit more of a rare Pokemon, as it is a fully XL build that was released relatively recently. And Niantic needs to do a much better job at releasing these Pokemon, but that's a different story for a different day. They're going to fire off a Sky Attack, and since these are two very big, bulky Pokemon, Scrafty shakes off the damage no problem, firing off Upper Hand number 1, Upper Hand number 2 coming right up. And unfortunately, this is just not doing a whole lot of damage to the Corviknight. Corviknight's a very bulky Pokemon. They're going to fire off another move here, and I am going to shield it up. Sky Attack would hit for some massive damage and KO the Scrafty, so I can't really afford to shield that, or no shield there, I should say. Upper Hand lands onto the Corviknight. Corviknight getting quite low, bringing in the Drapion, gets the Poison Sting down. Oh, Corviknight on Fraud Watch, absolutely. We are going to see it is a Zygarde back. This is not too good for us. Drapion, unfortunately, not going to be doing very much of anything with the Poison Sting fast move pressure. We just have to kind of rely on crunches, and crunches getting debuffs. Speaking of crunches, for some reason they decided to crunch my Drapion. That is a not very effective move, but hey, we are okay with that fact. That is a little bit advantageous for us that they decided to do that. We're getting to another crunch here. Crunch onto the Zygarde. Going to actually grab a shield from the Zygarde. And if this is a crunch, I might actually just live. I'm going to let this go because they decided to crunch me last time. I live on 1 HP, but not able to get the next Aqua Tail. That's okay. We bring in the Skuntank, and they bring in Jellicent. They pivot out of the Zygarde matchup. And this is okay, because I can just fire off multiple foul plays here, and Jellicent's going to have to throw to get rid of me, but they decided to just top left. There was a lot of play for them left in that game. It's going to be Scrafty versus a Blastoise once again in the next match. Fortunately, we match pace and win CMP over Blastoise, so that's a pretty good spot to be in. I'm firing off this upper hand immediately, as it is neutral damage and better damage per energy than foul play. It's the more efficient move to go for. and it also has that potential debuff chance. That is just a truly cracked move. They're going to fire off a move at my Drapion. I'm calling an early foul play here, but they decide to go for the superpower, and they already have another move. This is guaranteed to be a superpower if they superpowered the first, but as you can see, since their attack and defense has been dropped, I actually don't need to respect the second one. And now I'm going for an Aqua Tail here. I don't even know if an Aqua Tail would KO, but I decided to go for it anyway. They call another Aqua Tail and actually bring in their Blastoise for a catch. That's a little devastating for me. Throw one Poison Sting, switch into the Scrafty, and now we're going to go for the upper hand. Winning CMP versus the Blastoise is the Scrafty. This is a pretty good move, so it does add up quite a bit. They're going to fire off a move here, but as you're going to see, this Hydro Cannon, Scrafty's bulk, allows it to live it no problem, and I'll be able to live another one no problem as well. Going for 3 more Snarls and another upper hand. This is going to do a sizable chunk onto the remainder of the Blastoise, putting it in farm down range for one of my other 2 back Pokemon. They are going to look to maybe grab one of my shields here, but I'm just letting this go. Scrafty lives on such low HP and is able to bank a move. In comes the Skuntank, and they're going to fire off another move with this Malamar. I was thinking maybe now they have a bunch of energy, so maybe now they foul play bait, but no, this guy is absolutely just never baiting. So unfortunately, I got superpowered to my face, and I could have shielded the first as it would have did more damage than that second one that is debuffed. Unfortunately, they are going to be able to get farmed down there. Back in comes the Blastoise. Blastoise is very low on HP and not able to switch out, so Skuntank is just going to shield up to get the farm down. In comes a Runerigus in the back. Runerigus is a fully XL Pokemon in the Ultra League, and the Trailblaze lands, and we're going to be able to reach for a further crunch. Scrafty does have some energy loaded, looking for a debuff with this crunch in order for our loaded foul play to get the KO. Foul play onto the Runerigus may not be able to KO, as that is a very bulky Pokemon, living the foul play no problem at all. And now this is awkward, because if they make a move on the Skuntank, this game is going to end up being pretty close to over. That is, of course, unless we have residual energy on our Drapion, and we're 2 away from the move, perfectly living 2 Shadow Claws on 1 HP. Who was worried? Not I. In the next lead, it's going to be Scrafty leading into Cradily. One of my favorite things about running this Pokemon, outside of when I no longer had to run it anymore, was that people wouldn't really bother to fast move check the Scrafty. They would just be like, oh, that's a Scrafty. I've only ever seen it use counter, so I'm switching out immediately. Nope, we are on Snarl, fortunately enough, and they are going to fire off a move with their Golisopod. Now, I just gotta go ahead and rip the band-aid off. Now, please don't build this Pokemon if you don't already have one. You are not missing out on much if you don't have an upper hand Scrafty. I promise you that. Like, this is certainly a challenge. This is something that you can run if you don't like winning very often. and honestly, I went super negative. I think I lost like 100 or so elo trying to run this Pokemon. But hey, that's what the experiment is for. Anyway, we're going to be able to grab both shields from the Golisopod in the mid-game matchup. That is perfectly fine by me. And now, I'm committing to the 2-shield Scrafty-con. Scrafty comes in comes the Cradily in the back, and I'm firing off this upper hand. Upper hand onto the Cradily, going to do some sizable damage, and this is where Scrafty is in a very awkward spot. I'm going to get Rock Tomb here. I know it, I know Shield it, but I can't really do anything about that fact, and Snarl doesn't put them in any closer of a second upper hand KOing. Scrafty's in this very awkward position where it's stuck with either a terrible fast move in terms of energy generation with counter, or a terrible fast move in terms of fast move pressure with Snarl. A good middle ground would have Scrafty in a very good spot, but all it has is low base power moves, and although upper hand is very good, it's still low base power. By the way, that Talonflame had a move and decided not to throw it. That was very generous of them. I'm going to fire off this foul play, get rid of the Talonflame. In comes the Cradily, and we're just going for the complete zero bubble of the upper hand. Why not? Anyway, yeah, Scrafty's in a really awkward spot for that reason. In comes the Golisopod, I forgot that existed, and that's going to be a GG. Getting into the next match, it's us, but objectively better. It is going to be Pangoro leading into our Scrafty, and Pangoro here is pretty dangerous, right? Because unfortunately it has the super effective fast move pressure, and we get baited with the double resisted Night Slash. I was really trying to have that not happen, and realistically I'm pretty confident Scrafty would be able to maybe live a close combat. I'm not entirely sure if the Karate Chop chip would have made the difference there. I kept both shields with 2 upper hands, and upper hand was not going to KO that Pangoro. So the fact that they decided to double shield it, I view that to be a very large error on my opponent's part. Nevertheless, an Aqua Tail is going to be reached and thrown at an incoming Talonflame I didn't even see sneak in, and I'm going to be able to reach a second Aqua Tail, which is very nice. This second Aqua Tail actually picks up the knockout as Talonflame not even able to reach a move. They did get an Incinerate sneak there, and when they brought the Talonflame in, but it didn't visually show. The only thing I had to go off of there was the fact that I did take the Incinerate damage. Anyway, I'm getting close combated here. Down goes my Scrafty, and it is all up to Skuntank to cook up in this endgame. They are not quite yet able to switch, otherwise they would, and they're going to commit to this close combat onto the Skuntank. Honestly, probably one of the hardest hitting moves left in the game, and we see that it is going to be a Dusknoir in the back. Dusknoir in the back actually gives us a lifeline in this game, as one Dynamic Punch should not KO. We are fully maxed out level 50 Skuntank here. We get the Poison Jab farm down, leaving with the move for the Pangoro. So when the Pangoro comes back in, it's going to have to eat this Shadow Trailblaze, and that's more than enough to KO. GG's. Getting into the next match, it's going to be Scrafty leading into a Galarian Moltres, and I am so happy to stay in this matchup, and the reason being is because we double resist the Sucker Punch damage, so the Sucker Punches and the Snarls are doing relative amounts of damage to one another. We are going to be able to reach the upper hand first, and we are going to be able to even maybe throw a second upper hand. They're going to fire off their energy on alignment here. I'm going to no-shield it, assuming they wouldn't full send the Brave Bird there, but they actually do, and I'm going to be able to send this next upper hand. My entire team resists the Sucker Punch fast move pressure here, so I'm going to bring in the Skuntank looking for a farm down of this Galarian Moltres. They're going to, of course, be able to reach another Brave Bird here, and I'm okay with the fact that they throw the Brave Bird because I just get so much farm on this Skuntank while taking minimum amounts of damage. Throwing a Crunch at their Drapion so that when I bring in my own Drapion, although I'm behind on energy, I will be able to make a play to win this mid-game matchup. Aqua Tail connects onto their Drapion, and we are the CMP winner, which is very important information for us to know. They're going to fire off a Crunch, maybe hoping for a debuff con, because I don't think they're Crunch Sludge. They might be with the Galarian Moltres lead. Let's go ahead and take a look. Yeah, they are Crunch Sludge, otherwise they would be throwing their Aqua Tail here. I'm throwing an Aqua Tail of my own to try to KO their Drapion, and we are able to get it. In comes their Galarian Moltres, and this is likely just an attempt to get my Drapion energy, but I'm more than happy to throw it here so I can get rid of this Moltres. Down goes the Moltres, and in the back they've got an XL Registeel. I've not seen this Pokemon in the Ultra League in quite some time. I'm not very frequently an Ultra League player, but I have not seen this Pokemon in the Ultra League in quite a while. This is going to be very, very tough, as we are going to need to be able to get a Crunch debuff if we want any shot of winning this game. I get to the Crunch. Drapion, this is all on you, buddy. Drapion goes for the Crunch, gets the defense debuff, and makes a last-second Aqua Tail. This is absolutely massive. This is going to force a potential shield from the Registeel. Registeel shields, and now they're going to be able to make a Focus Blast here, but Registeel's pacing is very poor. We may very well be able to outpace to our Crunch. We're able to outpace to the Crunch. It all comes down to this. Can Skuntank KO? Registeel is very bulky. 296 XLs needed for the Ultra League, and we're able to take that win. GG's. We've made it to the final game of the video. It's going to be Scrafty leading into Golurk. Oh, but we're not the average Scrafty. We are on Snarl, meaning that we have not only fast move pressure, but also very quick charge move pressure into the opposing Golurk. I'm going to fire off the upper hand. Upper hand grabs the shield as I am playing this matchup out like an absolute degen. They are going to fire off a move here, and I shield it up. It's a Shadow Punch bait, unfortunately. I'm going for yet another upper hand, and they catch it onto their Tentacruel. Not the best spot for me to be in. I'm going to throw one Snarl and then bring in my Drapion. I'm looking to fire off a Crunch as soon as I get it here, which should still be before the Tentacruel is able to make their Scald. I unfortunately miss a couple bubbles there. I don't know what I was doing. Nevertheless, they're going to fire off a move onto my Drapion. I'm not going to shield this up because realistically I need my Scrafty. As we can tell, we need that Golurk out the way, and I'm looking to leave with as much energy as possible so that I can potentially threaten this Golurk with a potential Drapion move. I was looking for a little bit of an undercharge there intentionally that time. They fire off a move here, and that's okay. I can now just bring back in the Scrafty, and Scrafty's going to have a good time into this Golurk. They are going to switch out. It's a Charm A9 in back. What is happening on my screen, bro? I'm going to fire off the Trailblaze onto the Charm A9, hoping to get rid of it for good. The Charm A9 takes a massive amount of damage here, and now I have a really tough shielding decision. I opt to shield up the Skuntank. I need a move up against this Golurk, otherwise we are kind of cooked and will lose this game. I'm going to be able to make the Crunch, but unfortunately Golurk has a bit of energy here. If they have a Dynamic Punch, we lose. Alright, Scrafty, it all comes down to this. Do they have the Dynamic Punch? Can we survive a Shadow Punch? Scrafty holds, and we're able to make the last second foul play. Foul play onto the Golurk will pick up the knockout. GG's to this trainer. If you made it to this point in the video, thank you so much for watching. It really means a lot to me. And please do not run Scrafty or build one for the Ultra League, at least not in its current state. Wait for it to get a future move update, hopefully, fingers crossed. But unfortunately, as for right now, Scrafty's in a very awkward position, as I've hinted at earlier in the video, where it's stuck between one of two fast moves that are kind of polar opposite. Snarl does not give next to any fast move pressure and generates a nice amount of energy, and getting charge moves is nice, but its charge moves don't hit hard enough to warrant running Snarl. Counter is the opposite problem. It's a hard-hitting fast move, but is less flexible because you don't get to as many charge moves, so you're reliant on the counter damage. And on top of that, the other issue is that counter doesn't generate any energy, so you get to maybe 1 to 2 charge moves per game. It's a pretty tough spot for Scrafty, but with all that being said, thanks once again so much for watching. I've been Shmeaty. I hope to see you all again next time, and have a good rest of your day. Bye.